start the clock. We have a lot to talk about, and we only have so much time because, well, I mean, I don't want to film forever. I don't want to be filming all day, but I have a lot of things that I have to say. It might take me all day. Sorry, I was listening to the soundtrack, so I'm going to move that speaker. Okay, let's talk about this. Across the Spider-Verse. What an amazing film. This is the non-spoiler review, so if you've already seen my car review, you already know I loved this movie, but if you haven't, I loved this movie. I just think it was phenomenal. There are still some things that I think could have been a little bit better if I'm being nitpicky, but you really got to be nitpicky with this one because this movie is another smash hit. It's another one of the best movies I've ever seen. Period. Into the Spider-Verse for me was top 5 movies of all time. Not just comic book movies, of all time. And I love film. This probably will also make it in there. I need time still to process a little bit. So it's still a little fresh for me talking to you about this. But I made some notes. I'm going to try to stay to those and really dig into it. So why did I love this movie? Well, one, I felt the characters were super realistic. The writing was amazing. It really felt grounded. Every moment I felt like I was really there with the characters, and it was kind of disturbing to me how it could be so animated and yet have moments where I genuinely felt like these characters feel like real people. Like, although I'm watching a screen and I can see things are animated, I had to like remind myself these weren't real people because of how well the voice work was done in this, how well the animation was done, and how those two fit together so seamlessly, and the writing supporting all of that, obviously holding that all up as its structure. So that was great. Some of my favorite characters that appeared in terms of the wild world of the Spider-Verse, we had obviously Jess Drew, who I don't think is obviously Earth 616 Jessica Drew, or meant to be necessarily a direct stand-in for her. This is Jess Drew, and Jess Drew is, like Spider-Woman was, fighting crime while pregnant, but also has a father for her child, which is something that Jessica in Earth 616 doesn't. So I thought that was interesting. I was a little bit nervous about the depiction just because I didn't know what they were going to do with the character, and when I saw they wanted to focus on Spider-Woman when she was pregnant, there's a lot of other things about Jessica Drew that I really love about her, but I feel like they did a really good job of making me love this character instantly, with only a few lines in her introduction. She's just such a badass. She has the Spider-Woman bike that she drives around on, and she's just kind of sassy in a way that Jessica from Earth 616 in the comics is, and I really loved that they carried that over. I also do really like the design. She's kind of got the more of the Spider-Woman motorcycle jacket outfit, which is I think a really cool design for Jess. Yeah, I loved it. And I love how casually she's pregnant. Like, she's doing all this, she's pregnant, she just kind of acknowledges at one point, and then we just kind of move on from it. Like, it's like, yeah, like, I'm a superhero and I'm pregnant, you know, whatever. That was really great. There's also in this the Mary Janes, which we see near the beginning. I was super happy. I was hoping we were going to get to go with Spider-Gwen to her reality a little bit and see more of that, and they delivered. The Mary Janes are her band, and it seems that Mary Jane is still the lead singer, so I really love that they sort of stuck with that, which is in the comics as well on Earth 65. They have Typeface, and I just was talking about Typeface the other day in a top 10 nerd video, so I loved that Typeface, who's this super random villain who ends up actually becoming a hero in the comics, was in here. He's one of the criminals that they captured, that they sort of keep on, I believe, Miguel's Earth, in their building that's kind of locked up in like a prison, if you will, with the letters. And he's like, I'll fight you with these letters, or whatever he says. It was just fun. We also got Evil Miles in this from Earth 42, his Earth 42 alternate, who is actually the Prowler. I thought that was really cool, and I really liked, I don't know, I just feel like an Evil Miles something about that we kind of got with Miles in the comics when he did have his clone saga. I like the idea of an evil Miles. And I like the idea as well that it's Earth 42, because 42 actually plays a pretty prominent role, that number, in his own stories. I believe 42 is actually the name, the number for the clone that is Salim, or Salim, however you want to say that, which in the comics is his sort of evil clone. So that was kind of cool. I don't know if it's 42. I think it is. So yeah, that was interesting. Obviously, we got Spider-Punk. They really were giving me some of my favorite versions of Spider people. Like, Spider-Bite was in there. Spider-Punk was in there. I was like, okay, we need like Spider-Man, and I was hoping for Kane. I didn't see Kane, but I do think there's a pose with Ben Reilly and Spider-Man 2099 on the roof with the welcome sign that, I don't know, something about that reminded me actually of a cover that I think has Ben and Kane on it. So I think 2099 was kind of standing in for the place of Kane. I could be wrong, but there's an image there that just strongly reminded me of that. Spider-Punk was amazing, and I learned that apparently I've been saying hobby wrong because it's Hobie is how they were saying it. I was like, oh, okay. So Hobie Brown. So I guess that's how we say that. Never heard that pronunciation of it before. So that was interesting to hear and good to know. And his whole style and his whole anti-establishment mentality, just being a punk in every sense of the word, was really, really awesome and really fun. So I really loved that.
How are you even cooler under your mask? I was just cool the whole time.
We have so much more to talk about, and I only have so much time. Okay. Monitor, don't turn off on me. This is not a good time for this, okay? Okay, so we have to talk about some other things. Chiefly, we need to talk about the fact that we acknowledge the web of life and destiny, or as some people know it, the Great Web, or the Great Web of Life and Destiny. We also need to acknowledge the lean into the inheritors, with Miguel having a little flash of vampire fangs and being acknowledged as a vampire alternate. I'm pretty sure Miguel's an inheritor, guys, and I think that's where we're going to go in the next film. So just know that theory is there. I've said it. That's what I think is going to be happening in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I think we're going to go to Loom World. I think we're going to meet the inheritors. I think Miguel might actually be an inheritor. I don't know, but we didn't really talk about it as much in this movie, but these hints, I feel like they're putting the pieces into place, and I am loving it. You know me, I'm a fan of the inheritors, so we didn't get any Victorian vampires in this, space vampires from the multiverse, but maybe in Beyond. At the beginning of this movie, I gotta say, I really loved the intro to this. I loved that it was approved by the Comics Code Authority, which is a lovely callback to, if you're not aware, a time period in comics where there was a literal group of people, there was a whole board that it was their job to make sure the comics weren't too, like, violent or too risque, too sexy. They had to be censored. So there was a whole censorship thing that happened, and I just loved that acknowledgement to that era. We also kind of got tricked into a female narrative, and I'm actually so happy that I didn't know this was coming. And I think I'm really happy about it too, because I think it means everyone will go to see it and love it and not be able to complain about something without actually having seen it. And I think everyone will love this. I don't think it's a female narrative in the sense that it's like only for ladies. It's just cool to see a female character get more to do. And I love that Spider-Gwen was, for a good chunk of this movie, such a focal character, and definitely stepped up as, like, it's really a movie about her as much as it is about Miles in a way. So I kind of liked that divide. And I really loved the music at the beginning when Gwen is sort of recapping her origin story. By the way, if we're talking about multiverses, I'm sorry, MCU, but this is the multiverse that I want. This is the multiverse. This is a movie that does multiverses better than anything I have ever seen. It is so amazing. It is so good. Like, wow. Can you say, like, fan service, but without it, me feeling like I'm choking on it? I feel like it's perfect. It's just a perfect blend of, yeah, really loving the property while also paying tribute to it. I really loved that opening sequence. I love that we can keep telling these origin stories again and again, and it actually doesn't get boring. This is how you also do origin stories, by the way, because they should always be entertaining. It should never feel like a slog that we have to get through. And this definitely doesn't feel like that. So good job Across the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man India, it was so fun. I loved that entire world. I loved the character. I loved the voice acting. I believe Karan Soni is the guy that does the voice acting for that. I'm just gonna pull that back up. I think I had that up here, but I'm not familiar with him, but I am now. I am now, because his voice acting was amazing. But yeah, he's amazing. So much fun. Loved the whole design. Loved his hair. Oh, it was just such a fun time. Loved it, the way that he uses sort of bracelets, I think they are, like through his web, and just the whole way he was animated was amazing. Also, let's talk about the animation. The animation style in this is the best animation I have ever seen in my life, I think. Period? I could be being very dramatic here with this, and I mean, it is fresh, but I really think that's true. I went and did some research into this, and I could not find any articles that talk about them using mocap at all. So this is all just animation. It is a blend of 2D and 3D animation, sort of a system that they developed working on Into the Spider-Verse, and before that, it was from Mitchell's versus Machines, which is a movie I still haven't watched and I need to watch. I just keep hearing more and more things about it. People keep telling me to watch it. And then on the other side of that, I also have just things keep popping up that it's like, oh, this came from this. And it's like, oh my gosh, so cool. So it's a combination of 2D and 3D animation blended together. The expressions in this, I can't believe it's not mocap. It literally fits so well with the voice work. I can't believe they didn't record the actors. I can't believe they just made it. Like, it breaks my brain. And people want to talk about the AI and how AI could take over the industry. And while I do believe there are threats to art from AI, and that AI is a complicated issue where it can be used for good and used for ill, this does not use AI. And I think that is a testament to the fact that, like, when it comes to hand-drawn animation or computer-made animation that's still made by animators, that can't go anywhere. Like, it really can't, because this just proves how valuable having art that's also made by humans is. Yeah, it's just so amazing. Right, some of the things that I loved in terms of what they did for us, the fans, is this correct numbering of the different Earths. So, you know, we get an acknowledgement to the MCU, and I believed it's Earth 199999. That is called as that. So this is a world where everything's actually categorized as it is in the comics, and I just was like, oh, yes, give me the actual Earth. I don't know about this Earth S, but I know about these numbers, and it felt so rewarding as someone that knows a lot about the multiverse and loves the multiverse in the comics. One of the best moments for me in the animation is there's a moment where Miles sort of considers, like, do I go through the portal and follow Gwen, or do I go home to my parents? Because this is my world. I can't just leave it, can I? He doesn't say anything. The animation is so good, you can see every thought he's thinking in his eyes. That is so amazing to me, and I don't think that is easy to do at all. And there's a few different moments in here where I can literally see the different thoughts passing through the person's mind as they get from point A to, you know, their ultimate decision, like point C, to be like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. You can see the journey, and I think that is impressive. That's not even easy to do as an actor in front of a camera. So to see an animated character do that and do it so well, amazing. I loved the comic book covers. I thought that was really, really fun. And I also loved the editorial notes, just the style overall in this film, and the fact that each world has its own animation style that was painstakingly and lovingly created, and that you have different teams of people working on different worlds that also have to come together and figure out, like, how do these different styles blend together, though? Like, how can everything still tie back? It really just feels like so comic book. There's so many times you have artists that come in that write something, that do something different. You have to think of, like, how to blend stuff often in events where you have a bunch of different artists that might be coming together. It just feels so fun and so magical, and you can tell that the people that I think were working on this project really took pride in it and loved it. I also love that they kind of tricked us with the Spot. We thought the Spot was gonna be a funny villain. Ha ha ha, the Spot, what a ridiculous villain. Yo, the Spot is like serious in this. And I think that makes sense because when you actually think about what the Spot can do, it's actually scary. Starts as a joke villain, becomes very serious, becomes like one of the greatest threats we've ever seen. What a freaking cool way to do a villain story. Like, really, really loved this. And the fact that the Spot has a backstory. We get to go to the Spot dimension, which I wasn't sure if they were going to do it, and I love that they went there. It's so comic-y. Can be a serious threat. You know what? Respect. Respect the Spot. Oh, I was going to say that fight that he has with Miles, I think was a callback to the original fight that he has with Spider-Man in the comics. There's a point where he literally does have all the portals around him and tries to, like, punch and kick him, but Miles is just reacting to each one individually. Which I thought was cool, like just sort of that comparison of like Spider-Man in the comics getting his butt whooped, Miles just handily like dealing with the Spot all at once. Very, very cool. The soundtrack, the way the music was blended in, the scene with Miles laying on the bed, I think he's listening to, I think it's Nonviolent Communication. I went back and listened to the soundtrack to find the song, but I'm not sure if that's the right one, so I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But just that scene where he's listening to the music and the music sort of comes out of the story, then is part of literally what he's listening to, then kind of almost has an otherworldly vibe to it, and we're literally seeing stuff float, and it feels like it kind of goes back into the story. Just the way music is used throughout this movie is really, really well done. We also got Donald Glover as Prowler, which I freaking loved that we got that. That was so fun, and gives me hope for live action Miles. Is he out there somewhere? I hope so. He could still be out there. We could still be getting him. I don't know. So yeah, there was a lot of acknowledgement of different universes in this, and I thought it was great. From the MCU to the Raimi-verse to the 60s Spider-Man cartoon that I grew up watching, that I love still, so corny. From Mayday, who obviously is kind of a callback to Earth 982, to, you know, Lego Spider-Man, and we got a whole Lego Spider-Man sequence that was a delight, was not expecting. Saw Six-Arm Spider-Man, Bagman, Ben Reilly from the 90s. Justin Timberlake as Spider-Man as well from the other animated series from the 2000s. Spider-Man Unlimited. Just a lot of amazing alternates in this. Yeah. I loved the fact that they gave them the watches. I love all of the emotional speeches. I still said my favorite scene is the one between Miles and Gwen where they're sitting upside down looking at the city. That the whole way that was written and done, and it's just beautiful. And I love that we went to Earth 42 where, yeah, as I said, evil Miles exists and is Prowler, and that was pretty interesting. Although maybe Prowler is going to help him. Maybe they're faking us out because they left us on a really intense cliffhanger. Which, let's talk about some of the things that could make this better. One, not enough Kane Parker. Needed more Kane Parker, in my opinion. Two, inheritors. You're teasing them. You're not giving them to me. Would love some inheritors, please. There are some big questions in this that don't get answered. Miguel being a vampire. We kind of get an allusion to it. It's referred to. It doesn't really come in other than that. I think he might be an inheritor in disguise or something, but I guess we'll have to wait to the next movie to see. Maybe his connection to Alchemax, which he has in the comics, but not so much in this world as far as we've seen. I'm curious to see if that will come into play and if it will mean anything in terms of the greater story and what really caused universes to collapse. Was it colliders? Was it, you know, these moments being changed that are staple moments in Spider-Man's life? I don't know, but I'm very curious to learn more about these things, and I'm a little sad I have to wait to the next movie, but this movie was so good, I'm definitely willing to wait. The only other thing I would have loved to see is a little bit more of the original cast brought back. They had them there drawn, but they didn't bring them back as voice actors, and I feel like they did such a good job they kind of deserved that, but that's just my opinion. I mean, obviously we got Miles and we got Gwen, but Spider-Man Noir, come on. Bring Nick Cage back for a little bit, you know, just for a line. We got Penny back, though, admittedly. I don't know if that was actually the same voice actor, though, but Penny actually got to speak at least, so it's something. All right, friends, that's it from me. I've talked too much. Thank you for watching this. Stay nerdy, and I'll see you next time. Do all the YouTube things, or don't. Spider-Gwen, oh.